there are no more seasons that are coming to the game. This is the last season that we're in, and I feel like it's pretty conclusive at this point. Today, so this season 23 would have ended today. I feel like we can finally put together the conclusive Destiny season tier list. Now, how are we going to judge things? I think it's going to be a combination of a lot of things. It's going to be what was actually provided. It's going to be community sentiment. It's going to be a lot of things. We also have some, like, you know, we have Taken King here and House. Well, we're not going to, I only want seasons for now. Maybe we'll do that at the end. I don't know. So we're going to start. This is season 1, season 2, season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. But we're also going to have like chat votes as well. A very long time ago, I wrote a season tier list that went up to season 15. And we did actually apparently do community voting on this as well. So it'll be interesting to see if anything has changed in between me writing this script, which was December 2021, created November 4th, 2021. Are we separating content from seasons that launch with an expansion? We're just talking about specifically the season. Why include player sentiment? Because player sentiment does have somewhat of an impact on how a season went in a lot of people's minds. Because there could be, you know, a lot of good memories associated with some not great content. There could also be some bad memories associated with some pretty good content. Season 1, which is Destiny launch. Now, I'm not going to like finalize any of my things because we need to sort of establish a baseline. This is D2 launch season 1, right at the very beginning. I think the problems developed pretty quickly with D2 launch, but like a launch window is always pretty exciting. But literally a core memory that I have of launch is I actually got to play with Tim the Tatman and my boy Lazarus, and I felt like the biggest jerk in the world telling them that the way you leveled up was to grind public events. It's literally a core memory to the point where I saw Tim. We both had the same meet and greet time at TwitchCon. I want to say 2 or 3 years later. I literally apologized for like how lame that was. Now, according to my write-up, I originally had this in B because it's still a launch window. It was still very exciting. I think I'm probably going to drop it down to C for now, and if I need to make an adjustment, or I could leave it in B and drop it down to C later. So I think we drop it here and just sort of develop a baseline going from there, and then we'll readjust if we feel like we need to adjust. I am going to keep it B though, because it is still a very exciting time. We're learning all the things. You know, it's a new game launch. It's pretty big. People pretty firmly in B and C. I would love to know some of these S tier votes more than I would the D votes. Like the D votes, I can understand. The S and the A's, I would love to know. More so the S's. The A's I could also understand. I can understand like one standard deviation, but the S I really want to know, unless that's just trolling. So here's the thing about Curse of Osiris. Would we have judged Curse of Osiris better had it not been marketed as an expansion, but rather marketed as like a season that we know today? Genuine question. Because, like, if you think about what was offered in Curse of Osiris as far as a season goes, dude, we got a freaking planet and a couple of strikes. Like, that is crazy for a season. But the problem is that it was marketed as an expansion. I think people were expecting a whole lot more from this. Yeah, 2 tokens and a blue literally, like, is the core memory of people for Curse of Osiris. It is bigger than a season, like a season that we know today. But I think the sentiment was so low that I don't know if the things that were in this season can make up for that. Because Destiny 2, the problems during season 1 were found so quickly, and then this was just kind of like more Destiny at the time when we needed like much more systematic changes, and it didn't really feel like we got that. It had weapon quests, which were garbage, with a clear path to getting a thing. They did have that. They did have like the 12 weapons to go grind out, which I don't think many of them were really that Great. Eater of Worlds was the highlight. Now, to be fair, Eater of Worlds, very cool space. Wasn't a huge fan of the first half of the raid layer. Second half was much more enjoyable. What did I say in my thing? Infinite Forest felt like a big part of marketing for it to be nothing more than a glorified loading zone. The story itself was fine. Didn't feel like it was linked to anything at the time. I literally even say everyone knows 2 tokens in a blue. It haunts Curse of Osiris to this day. So I think it was just the sentiment that really drags it down. If you take away player sentiment, I think it definitely moves up. I think it could go as high as B. But with the player sentiment in mind, a lot of people regard this as one of the lows of the franchise. Just so I can have it on the screen. Nice trolling. All right, a lot of people put a D. I mean, this is essentially what I was anticipating, So now we got Warmind. Now, with Warmind, sentiment not nearly as negative as Curse of Osiris. I think a lot of people kind of knew, like, look, it's obvious that we need to wait for Forsaken for any sort of huge changes. Sorry, I'm just putting it here to just put it on the board. And so this was just sort of like a waiting, but just sort of like, we were in like a holding pattern. I was not the craziest fan of Escalation Protocol, but I know a lot of people did like it. We did have Whisper. Whisper was really, really good. I mean, that was super, super good. Spire to Stars, I think, has one of the greatest raid encounters of all time. I don't know if I'm putting it C. Like, where did I have a better time? Launch or Warmind? Like, if anything, I would put it in like a C+ tier maybe. But if I'm trying to like not create so many subcategories. Maybe we'll like, if it's further to the left, it's a better B or something like that. But I feel like I'm kind of close on both. I think it's a low B. It had a few things going for it, even if it kind of had the same like, oh, we have a little dinky 2-hour campaign with a couple of missions. Like it was kind of whatever. It was just, it had like other things that I feel like kind of contributed to it being like okay. Yeah, Zol, like the worm fight was just like it. I'm gonna go like a low B here. Okay, you guys said mostly B. You guys said 66% B with some A's and C's. So now we will bring up season 4, which is Forsaken. Now, Forsaken, it's tough because Forsaken is a full expansion, but we didn't have typical seasons yet, so we can really only judge. Forsaken has to be really high, but again, it's an expansion. It's a full expansion. It's arguably the best expansion we've ever gotten. It's up there with the top dogs, but I fully realize that we have like, it's mainly expansion. Campaigns in Destiny didn't get good until Witch Queen. I'm sorry, pretty much every campaign was kind of dog until Witch Queen. At least in terms of the gameplay. Huge hot take. I really don't feel like it's a super hot take. As soon as we got a taste of Witch Queen, every other campaign in comparison is dog. It is dog. And even going through a lot of the campaigns, like, I wasn't crazy about the Shadowkeep campaign. I wasn't crazy about the Beyond Light campaign. Like, I guess if we compare the campaigns to everything like pre-Witch Queen, you could like maybe sort of organize the campaigns by like which one you liked more. But then as soon as we got Witch Queen, every other campaign was just ass in comparison. I wish you didn't rate seasons 1 through 4. Yeah, here's the thing is that if I don't rate seasons 1 through 4, people are going to say, why didn't you rate seasons 1 through 4? Like there's no winning. There's no winning. If you don't think I should be rating these seasons because they're all like, this is a game launch, this was marketed as an expansion, this was marketed as an expansion, this is an expansion, then just ignore them. Pretend they're not there. Forsaken just had it. I think someone said it was called Season of the Outlaw, or was that season 5? Because I know season 5 we know it as Black Armory because it wasn't really like. I think we're kind of going off of some earlier marketing material where it was called like Black Armory, and then season 6 was called like Joker's Wild or something like that. Forge. Okay, yeah. So it was called Season of the Outlaw, but I don't remember having like specifically Season of the Outlaw content. Like I don't remember that separation. I don't think it really had. I think it felt like more like an Eververse season, if anything. It really didn't have that separation at all. We have to judge it. If we're judging it as a season, which is like, I completely understand that this is not a fair comparison to make. This is not a season. It's a full expansion, but that doesn't change the fact that it's like one of the best pieces of content that we've ever gotten. 2 people saying D. That's crazy. Now we're getting into actual seasons. This is where the seasonal model truly begins. Season 5 launch was a toughers for a lot of people. I think people look back on this season very, very fondly because of like, you know, there was a lot of good weapons here, like a lot of fan favorite weapons here. The activities themselves were not anything super special, but then you also have Niobe Labs, right? And Niobe Labs was nutty. Like one of the best experiences we've ever gotten in the game. Like literally Niobe Labs was 2 clues away, or even like 1 clue away from being absolutely giga top tier content. But it started really slow. And there was also a lot of complaints about kind of level gating the end game content. The season activity kind of is like, all right, whatever, but it just had a lot of other things going for it that I think were pretty strong. If I am going to put this in B, it's definitely a very, very, very high B or a very low A. I think it's easy to look back on it in retrospect and be like, oh yeah, it was a really good season. But I know in the moment, there were definitely some issues. I think I'm going to go high B, like super high B, because it did have a fair amount of stuff going for it. Anarchy, yeah. We kind of include that with like, you know, the raid, Scourge, and all that. I'll go very high B. This is subject to change as we're going through. Like maybe I click this up. 16% in S, 20% in B, 58% in A. Scourge is a goated raid. I'm not Scourge pilled as many other people are. I thought it was fine. High B. Season of the Drifter. This is the Gambit season. This is where Gambit Prime came out. This is where we had the Reckoning. We had Outbreak Perfected. It's pretty good. I'm not a huge Gambit enjoyer. We also had the Reckoner Seal, which has traumatized many a Destiny player. I think I have to go C with this. I'm kind of in between B and C. And that's mainly because of, I feel like, Outbreak's mission being super, super good. 0 hour, yeah. We also did get Recluse during the season. Arguably one of the best or the best weapon ever created. Maybe not the best, but arguably one of the top weapons of all time. But Gambit Prime didn't really pop off. Reckoning was, to me, nothing special at all. I really don't have any good memories of Reckoning at all. It was a very mid activity. I think maybe like the final boss section where you like got teleported and you were chasing around. You're being chased by some of the knights and stuff. Like, okay, maybe that's a little fun, but activity wise, not a hit. I appreciate that they tried to do something a little bit different with, at least with like Gambit Prime and like how they modeled the season. This like crawled so that other seasons could walk and run a little bit more reliably. We did have spare rations, true. Iconic weapon, but I don't think that pushes it into the B tier. Yeah, I think we'll I'm gonna keep it in C, mostly C, but a little bit closer than I feel like others. Definitely not a we didn't have 50% here. If you voted A or S, can you explain? I love Gambit Prime, wish they kept it in the game. I mean, it was definitely an interesting evolution of the mode. It just never really clicked. The majority of people did not end up becoming Gambit enjoyers. But it was conceptually a neat idea. Or I was frequently switching my role for triumphs. Really enjoyed Gambit Prime. All right, some Gambit Prime enjoyers in the chat. Okay. Opulence. I'm putting it in A, tentatively. Now, here's the thing, is if Forsaken is S tier, Opulence was not as good as Forsaken. But Forsaken is not a season. It's an expansion. So I feel like there needs to be some compensation for that. Here's the thing about Opulence. The seasonal activity was super, super fun. I, for a while, thought that the Menagerie ruined other seasonal activities. Because Menagerie, as a let's disregard the rewards. Disregard for now. The activity itself was quite enjoyable. Would it have been as enjoyable if it wasn't bugged and people could spam and you could not spam the chest? Because a big reason why people enjoyed it is because you could reset the area that you were in and you could get like 5 rewards. Now, fortunately, it only took Bungie several years and several seasons to catch on to that with the coil, giving you a bajillion rewards if you hit freaking platinum rating, right? But do I think this would have fallen off considerably faster if it weren't for the bug with the loot? I think so. But you got to play it as it lies, right? And the situation is it was bugged and people were able to get tons of loot out of it. And as a result, people enjoyed it much more. Crown of Sorrow, I thought the Galron fight itself was enjoyable. I think, like, Crown of Sorrow has one of the worst and one of the best encounters in raids in general. The first encounter of Crown of Sorrow, outside of day one of the worst. Galron itself, I found to be an enjoyable experience, at least until you got to the damage phase, which was just brainless, mindless anarchy mountaintop spam. So everything before the damage phase is like pretty fun. And then everything after the damage phase is just like, it was very boring. And this was also the season where I put out my video ranting about how all PvE bosses were just getting absolutely cooked, and how the auto reload meta is just so brain dead. Is it on the same level as Forsaken? And like Forsaken almost feels like it should be up here. Like it shouldn't even be in this. It should just be like above. So like if you wanted to put it in A because you're comparing to Forsaken, I would understand that. If you want to put it in S because you're comparing it to other seasons, I would also understand that. Best title in the game. Oh, Shadow. Yeah, Shadow's good. Does the raid Heartbreak ruin it for me at all? No, not really, because that's not in Bungie's. Well, I mean, I guess you could argue that the raid weapon dropping was technically in Bungie's control, but Bungie didn't like write the script on us getting second place in the raid. You know what I mean? I will leave it in A, and if I want to make an adjustment later, I will make an adjustment later. But either one of these I think is fine. And you all voted. The community rating last time we did this was an S tier. Community voted as S tier back in 2021. Interesting how the sentiment has changed. Season 8, I mean, they have Shadowkeep here, but we're going to skip Shadowkeep because Season 8 was its own thing. It had that actual separation. This is Season of the Undying. Season of Undying or The Undying. This is where another shift happened with seasonal content. We got the Battle Pass. The previous year, you had to buy all 3 seasons at once, whereas I think they kind of went to a la carte with Season 8. I can't remember. The Bar of Comparison, was it worse than Curse of Osiris? I think people were just so indifferent about Season 8. It was just kind of there. And most seasons that launch with an expansion are pretty mid to low mid. It didn't have a ton going on. Garden, Pit of Heresy. A Garden was attached to Shadowkeep, I feel like. Same with Pit of Heresy. I don't know, I could be wrong on that. I think Garden is definitely attached to Shadowkeep. In fact, I think I just watched a Sir D video going over that piece of information. So we're just talking about the season. The seasonal activity, which, you know, at least it was somewhat enemy dense. The weapons themselves weren't that great. They looked cool, but they weren't that great. Like, people kept the Season 8 weapons more because they looked cool than them actually being good. Infex Offensive was there. You know, it was there. Ariana's Vow was probably the best thing to come out of Season 8. And in 2021, I said, all that being said, Season 8 goes into the D tier thanks to a pretty lackluster seasonal activity compared to the previous season. We also had a very huge drop-off, right? We went from Opulence, we went from the Menagerie to Vex Offensive. Well, yeah, I know Ariana's isn't that good anymore, but Ariana's at the time, and for a while, was a very dominant, maybe not dominant, but it was incredibly strong. I don't even know if we can really say it's better than Curse of Osiris, because it was just so... Like, it just... I don't know. It didn't really have that much going on. And also, like, the Vex have, like, never really had... You know, they have 0 star power. What Vex is Brad Pitt? You know what I mean? Where's the Ryan Gosling Vex? Atheon? Bro, we're not even... We're in, like, season -9. I don't know. I'd put it in D, but it's almost like if I forgot about Season 8, would anybody notice? Like, probably not. Yeah, we also had Champions. It's been pretty divisive. You guys went C. Okay, you were a little more generous. You guys also voted C way back when in 2021 as well. Good amount of D's there as well. 1 S and 1 A. Season 9, Season of Dawn. Season 9 is where they tried to be like, oh crap, people really like Menagerie. Let's try to do that with the Sundial. So we had some like Menagerie-esque, you know, objectives, and they weren't too bad. So we had the Saint 14 storyline. Everybody loves Saint 14, you know, iconic character. We had the Sundial. We had Charged with Light mods. Those were pretty PogChamp. We had Corridors of Time, which it had its moments. I feel like the first couple of days were really fun. And then when it kind of came to just data collection, it was like, all right, we're collecting data. People love the weapons. Bungie allowed you to eventually just buy weapons from a vendor with your Fractaline for like the last month. Symmetry, I think Symmetry was the exotic. Symmetry to me is like such a fun gun. It's like my, I don't want to say it's like a sleeper gun, but it's a gun that I wish was better. But I still think it's a really enjoyable gun. Am I factoring balance subclass changes in the ratings because they introduced Charge with Light? I mean, we mentioned Charge with Light mods, but I would say unless something super significant happened, I'm probably not including it too much. But like season 10, for example, goes with like Warmind cells, and those were a pretty big deal. So we'll talk about like key moments. But I'm not going to be like, oh, this is the season where auto rifles got a 6% nerf and they were no longer meta in PvP anymore. Like, miss me with that. Do I think Opulence was probably a bit better? Yes, I do. But I think I am going to push it into like A, maybe low A or super high B. Just because, like, it was, you know, it was trying to bounce back from Opulence, which was really well received, and I think this had a lot going for it. I'm gonna go like a low A for Season of Dawn. I think we were kind of like on the upswing. B, okay, majority B, but A not too far behind. Okay, interesting. I think that's valid. I mean, we're kind of like, I'd say we're in B plus territory with how many A's we have. Maybe not just like flat B, kind of B plus. Imagine putting a raidless season over one with a raid. That doesn't mean, a raid does not mean everything to people. Season 10, we went from Season of Dawn, Sundial, activity to glorified public events. Sentiment was pretty low, but we did get some stuff. The seasonal activity, not good. But we did get a lot of other things. We had legendary lost sectors were launched here. We had Warmind cells, which were ridiculous until they had to get nerfed with like sunsetting and everything. We also had GM Nightfalls launched here, which I thought were very enjoyable. But community morale at the time was tough. It was that bad. I think with a little more time between us, I'm willing to go with like a lower C. People were very, very down in season 10. You know, not to cope or anything, but I feel like the pandemic maybe didn't help. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how we're judging it. Are we completely removing community feelings and sentiment from the rating? Because if we are, yeah, it definitely goes up. Right? If we completely remove how people were feeling and we just look at objectively what did we receive in season 10. But I know for a fact that community sentiment was down bad. I know I was down bad. I was not into it. Despite the fact that we got like legendary lost sectors and we got GMs, overall net positives. Any season with bad community sentiment is going to feel worse, and that is relevant. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think community sentiment has to go into it. I think last time I rated it a D. I think with a bit more like time to reflect, I'm willing to click it up just because of the impact that a lot of these things had. You know, now whether or not it goes in front or behind, you know, I'm not really sure. Then the season event was neat. I mean, it was, you sat around the tower for a couple. Conceptually, it was neat, and then we just never really saw it again. I mean, I think the idea of like a thing happening in real time in game is neat, like something that everybody can watch. But this particular live event was sitting in the tower for 2 to 3 hours, seeing the thing explode, and then the thing actually exploding was just like, it was like a 2 to 3 minute sequence of the thing crashing into the mountains. It was like a lot of buildup. I think seeing things happen live in game is like, that's kind of cool. Just any sort of thing that happens in the game, I think that's neat. What we ended up seeing, not as neat. What crashed? It was the Cabal thing, the laser beam, the Almighty. That's what it is. The Almighty. I'm going somewhere in the C category with a bit more separation. You guys voted. That's a hard D.
That's what she said.
Maybe like I don't know if 28% C's get you maybe like a D plus. But you guys were harsher than I was. A lot of you going D. This ended up being much more divisive. I think D in retrospect is a harsh, because I voted D last time. And now I'm kind of like, I've matured. I look back on things a little bit differently now. But yeah, community sentiment, it was low. It was low during that time. And sometimes that's all that matters. Like you just associate, it doesn't matter what else came with the season. You just associate it with not having a good time. And maybe it's tougher to be objective about it. But then sometimes that's all that matters, Season 11. I was surprised by Season 11 being as enjoyable as it ended up being, because I was so down on Season 10 that I was like, there's no way that Season 11, Arrivals, is going to be good, like, at all. I did not think it was going to be good in the slightest. I was so negative, and I feel like I ended up having a better time with it. I think that this is kind of where the story also got back on track with the overarching story that we know today. I believe we also got Prophecy. Yeah, this was also the first of the Giga seasons where they lasted a super long time. So yeah, I Season 11 surprised me in how much people really enjoyed it. We also got Witherhoard this season, which I am not Witherhoard pilled, but I know a lot of other people are, and it's like some of their favorite weapons. Last time we did this, 2021, the community gave this an A tier rating. I didn't think it was as good as Season 9, but I know that I mentally checked out on Season 11 much faster than Season 9, which is why I put it in the B, or maybe I'm just being too harsh on it. This is also when we got Umbral Engrams. Yeah, I think many people are a bit higher on this season than I am, but I know I tuned out pretty early on, not even doing a concluding thoughts video after the season was basically over. Not Witherhoard Pill, but said Anarchy is part of the best. Look, Witherhoard, I never clicked with Witherhoard. I never clicked with it. My personal rating, I still think I'm going to stick with what I said. I don't think I engaged with the season enough, but I know that people are going to rate it higher. And I think that's totally fair. But I had checked out early. Like I didn't really engage. Again, this is just me personally. You guys voted overwhelmingly A. I accept that. I just didn't have as strong of a memory with Season 11. I kind of checked out, but I don't think that A is an unacceptable rating. If people want to rate it an A, I totally see what people enjoyed. And I mean, look, you guys are pushing it towards S tier. This is like an A+ for some people, like an A+-. I don't know. You know what I mean? The A+-. Come on, guys, keep up. Season 12. We're not going to rate Beyond Light because Season 12 kind of came separate. I think Season 12 is going pretty low. Wrathborn Hunts. Not really that fun. Not that engaging. And it was another season that launched with an expansion, which historically have not been that great. I'm trying to even remember there were some decent weapons. I mean, Deafening Whisper is still a weapon that I use today. It's one of the oldest weapons that I own that I still use. Otherwise, we got Hawkmoon, and that mission was pretty good. Is it enough to launch it out of the D tier, though? I don't think so. And like Hawkmoon's good, don't get me wrong, or at least, it's fine. If Hawkmoon maybe ended up becoming like a super giga tier weapon, then maybe I could see it getting pushed to C because Hawkmoon itself would have had an impact. But I don't think Hawkmoon had the impact that it had Year 1 D1. Yeah, Sagira getting killed off screen. Yeah, that was kind of like a pretty important piece of lore that never really, you had to like read about it on Bungie's website. And it turns out that ended up being pretty important. I don't know. I'm going to keep it in D. I very much remember not enjoying Season 12 that much at all. You guys are putting it in D. Little bit of C. Very few amount of Bs. Season 13. This is Chosen. Was, I think, kind of the start of this new era of seasons of like very, very consistent seasons. It's also when the story started to kind of take shape and we started to get on this main path of like Savathun and the Witness and this and that. And so I remember liking this season quite a lot. It was also the season of enemy density. Really remember liking that. My notes, I say, was the best season since Season 9. We had Battlegrounds introduced, which I still think is a pretty fun activity, even if it is, pretty simple. Stories improved. We got Presage. We got Dead Man's Tale with Presage. Good story stuff. Like it's really up there. I think it is really up there. I think it is a strong season. Is very, very up there. Now again, if we want to remove this, all right, hang on. Fine. I'll make the damn ad row above. Forsaken tier. Okay. Best season since season 9. I'd say I think probably these are somewhat equal, but did I think it was better than 7? I don't know. They all have different things that they did really well that I enjoyed, but on different scales. I mean, I don't think we've ever had like a truly perfect season. There's always been something. I think I'm gonna keep them in the A's. I don't even know how, like, no order here almost. Battleground, I don't know if it's as good as season 9 activities, but I did like Battlegrounds, and I did like that they were enemy dense. So like, where did I have more fun? Objectives, or did I have just fun killing things? Like Presage was fun. It was a good first time through. I don't use any of the season 13 weapons. I need to remember what they even are. You guys did majority A with almost a mix of S and B. I'm glad only one person said D, or only one person said C, and only 2 people said D. Yeah. Look, sometimes, you know, the legendary weapons don't matter as much, right? When other things are good, like when you think about season 13, you think about not the weapons, you think, because there was other good stuff. But sometimes there's a season 9, season 5, where a lot of people were like, yo, the weapons are PogChamp. Season 14, which is Splicer. I think from this point on, it gets a little bit tougher to judge a lot of these seasons because they ended up being pretty similar to each other in terms of their quality. I know people, I think Splicer was pretty good. I think it was pretty good. I don't think I'm going A. I'm definitely going high B, but did I think it was good as season 13? Personally, I did not. But I still think it was a good season, a very strong season. In fact, I literally say season 15 is going to the B tier. If I was doing half tiers, it would be a half tier higher. Introducing Savathun, Marasov came back. We had Astral Alignment and oh no, sorry, this is 15. Never mind. I'm reading the wrong notes. Story felt more attached to the bigger picture regarding Savathun. Season activity wasn't spectacular, but also not terrible. But I got bored of it a bit sooner than I did with season 13. But that could have been because I barely played season 12, so I was feeling better about season 13. And I think also, like, going from 12 to 13 was such a massive jump. And then the difference between 13 and 14 was, like, really close together. I think that's maybe why I didn't feel like it was as strong, but I still think it's a B. It's an upper B. The seasonal activity was not too bad. It was fine. I know there's a big attachment to weapons though, right? You had Chroma Rush, you had Ignition Code. Those were the big 2. We got VOG during Splicer. Okay. End of the season was so lame. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I mean, they kind of had that showdown where we did Scourge of the Past. It was okay. Grid Skipper, yeah, I'm not a Grid Skipper enjoyer, but I know a lot of people are. Factions got yeeted. Oh, that is true. We maybe need to bring it up to A tier. Finally, the end of bring back faction rallies, bro. The event that nobody liked. Yeah, so there were definitely some banger weapons in there, but I still think I'm going B tier personally. I think I was too spoiled by season 13. And the difference between season 13 and season 14 was not spectacular enough, I think, for me to push to A. But I still think we're going high B. This is definitely an A+, right? We have, I mean, it's 2 percentage points. You guys really liked 14. I'm going with like a B+. You guys are going with an A+. Season 14 is goated IMO. I cried when Saint yelled to Mithrax, "You are my people." All right, I didn't realize you guys felt that strongly about season 14. I liked 13 much more than 14, but, you know, to each their own. I totally respect it. Season 15. This was another 6-month season. Are we counting the 30th anniversary pack in the season? Because it was its own purchase. So personally, I'm saying no. You guys are also saying no. Okay, last time I said if I was doing half tiers, I'd probably put it B+. Season 15 introduces Savathun herself, Return of Marasov, seasonal activity split into Astral Alignment and Shattered Realm, which were pretty enjoyable. Good exploration with Shattered Realm. Seasonal weapons, I think, were ass this season, as far as I remember. I don't know. I think I liked it more than Splicer, if I have Splicer down here. I don't know if I'm clicking it up to A tier though, but it's definitely another high B. Fractathis, I never ended up liking it. I'm going high B. We're pushing into Witch Queen. Like, hype is riding high. Witch Queen ends up being really good, although we don't know that at the time. So I feel like we're riding pretty high. And even though 30th Anniversary Pack wasn't technically a part of the season, I think 30th Anniversary Pack being there in people's minds maybe made season 15 feel better than it was because we got like another thing, even if you did have to buy it. So I am going high B. You guys voted overwhelmingly B. I don't know if there's enough A's to go B+. 30th Anniversary Pack. Not technically a season. I don't even know how to feel about it. We got Galahorn. That's pretty good. Dares of Eternity. Not bad. We got like the BXR. Not bad. I don't know. It was like, yeah, we got Grasp of Avarice. We got some nice armor. The fact that I just saw so many S's right off the rip from you guys is kind of crazy to me. I don't know. You guys, like, now you guys are starting to skew me. Does the price point matter? Because it was, what, $25? Something like that. Oh, Eager Edge, yeah. I go like a low A. I don't think I was in my PvP era during that time. One of the best, like, first-time dungeon experiences. The first game show in Destiny. Yeah, it was a fun dungeon. The activity was fun. Cheeky dungeon, or a cheeky activity, which I think people enjoy. Dares of Eternity. We got some good weapons. I'll go A. Maybe like a low A. I don't know. It's never something that I've really thought about rating. You guys are voting. Okay, you're pretty high A. I think that's enough to go A+ for you guys. Season 16, and this is where I'm out of notes. I have no more notes to rely on. This was Risen. So this season launched with Witch Queen. I don't remember having the fondest memories of it. It did feel like maybe a slightly stronger season than the previous two seasons that launched with expansions, but not really by much. Psyops Battlegrounds, I mean, like, I enjoy Battlegrounds. I enjoy Battlegrounds because they're mostly enemy dense. So I remember enjoying Battlegrounds. But I honestly don't even really remember that much about the season in general. I'm going S tier because of Volatile Rounds mod. Wow. That is, we avoid 3.0 this season. Yeah, 3.0s. I mean, I don't know if that's really enough to swing things that hard for me. First season of craftable weapons I'm putting crafting more on Witch Queen itself than the season. This is the one where we're doing all the mind control stuff. And Crow was like, no, you can't mind control the hive. That's cringe. We were very war crime pilled at the time. And we had, so the story, okay. Story's okay. I think I'm probably going B. I think I'm probably going B here. Probably like a mid B. Vox Obscura was super fun first time. I don't remember being as crazy about Vox Obscura. My core memory of Vox Obscura is running with Jess and Danielle on like Master Mode or whatever we were doing. It was all right. It was all right. Not bad. I'm going B. And you guys did not either. Pretty strongly in B territory. I think there's too much of a gap to go like a B-. You can't just purchase weapon crafting by buying Witch Queen. It's free for all players. That's fair. That's fair. It's still just something I naturally associate with Witch Queen, though. Season of the Spooky. Haunted. I'm expecting some divisiveness here because I think there's definitely a lot to like, and there's also some stuff that I think people absolutely don't like. I thought the Haunted, like, story stuff was kind of a banger. Like, I thought it was really fun engaging with that stuff, although, you know, it was, like, 1 week on and then 1 week off, and then 1 week on and then 1 week off. It was like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, but I can do it. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, but actually I can do it. But I think it was, I don't know, it's just, like, the story stuff was just really awesome. Leviathan coming back, did it do anything for me? Not really. I've been to Leviathan. I played the crap out of Leviathan. I did Leviathan like 7 or 8 times in a row, like as it came out. Duality. Do we include Duality with the season? Because you needed to buy something separate to get the dungeon. Do we include that? Because it came with the dungeon pass. It didn't technically come with the season. And we're kind of split. Some people saying yes, some people saying no. Like, do I mentally include it with the season? Yes, I totally do. Do we technically include it with the season? Push up my glasses? I don't know. It depends on how you want to categorize. Personally, I think I probably would. If you always buy the deluxe edition, then yes. I don't know if I'm pushing this to A tier, but it's certainly close. If it's not A tier, it's definitely very high B. We did also get Solar 3.0, which is like almost to this day just went berserk. Leviathan I wasn't crazy about pretty much at all. I was mostly engaged with the story stuff. I don't know if I can go A. I think I'm going to go like a high B. But like, does it really deserve to be right next to like, maybe this should be going down a lot more. You know, you got to think like over here is like B plus, and then you have B, and then you have like B minus down here. I think I'd be willing to go high B. Yeah, hit it with the B plus minus. Do I think this is on the same scale as like Dawn and well, technically Opulence should be more like an A plus. Like both of these honestly should be like probably A plus. Do I think it's better? I'm gonna go a high B. You guys went A, 49%, 28% going B. That's probably like an A minus. This is, you know, we even got some S's and some C's in here. Kind of a little divisive. I think overall I'd go community was a A minus. Season 18, Plunder. Now, here's what I'm going to say. This might be a hot take about Season 18. I don't think it was nearly as bad as everyone says that it is. People are so low on Season of Plunder. It has the unfortunate effect of being the third season in an expansion cycle, which usually people are not into. I understand that. That's like the low point of the year typically. Everyone's kind of like, I'm good on the Destiny. I'll come back later. This is when we got Arc 3.0. I have fond memories of Titan Storm Grenade build. It was crazy. I don't think it really like went above and beyond in doing anything too crazy. I thought that the seasonal activity was okay. The story, I think some people were maybe like not the most enthused. I like Spider. It felt like it didn't have as much of a connection because it was all like Nezarec based stuff, and Nezarec was just part of Root of Nightmares. We did have Kingsfall. I don't think it was as bad as everyone says it is. I'm not gonna rate it that high, but I'm not putting it in the garbage F tier. I'd probably go like a B minus C plus kind of category, but I definitely don't think it's this garbage tier that everyone wants to put it in. I really don't. So I'm going high C, low B. You guys, mostly C. B and D split. I think those kind of cancel each other out. So I think you guys are very firmly in C. I think that is acceptable. I can understand some B's. I can understand the D's. A and S, you had to really have liked this season to go A. Any A voters in the chat? Can I hear the A voters? Arc 3.0 goated. Arc Warlock is still the best to this day. Okay, that is I think you might be coping on that one, but I mean, I'll give you Arc 3.0 in season 18 was kind of popping, especially if you were a Titan. Arc Warlock though. All right, season 19, which was Seraph. Pleasantly surprised. Ended up enjoying it a bit more than I thought I was going to. Now we're getting into like some meaty stuff. I know some people maybe don't like how the Rasputin storyline maybe ended or anything like that. I'm definitely not going S tier. I'm not going S. We did have Spire of the Watcher, which the final boss is fun. The rest of it, I was Found a dog that we can pet. True, if you collected all the 50, or you blew up the 50 things with Revision 0 or something like that. Yeah, the mission the first time through wasn't too bad. Am I going A though? I think I might. We're thinking through, like, I definitely liked it more than like Haunted and Plunder. It's probably the best season of the Witch Queen era. So if it's truly better, like this would either have to be like B plus, or it would have to go into the A tier somewhere. And if it does go A, it's got to be pretty low, like A minus. Yeah, Spire is I understand, not the greatest dungeon in the world. I know that. But there were definitely a lot of story aspects that I liked. Pacing felt mostly good. What's wrong with Spire? The first encounter is literally like jumping. And the second encounter is a boss from Garden of Salvation. It wasn't that special. Final boss, again, I thought it was fun. I would go low A. I do feel like that's maybe a little bit generous. What'd you guys say? You guys are going S tier? We're putting this on the level of something like Forsaken, which arguably shouldn't potentially even be in the freaking rankings. People love Spire fashion. Are you guys cowboy pilled that much? That is some stuff that you guys are going to have to handle with your therapists. Season 20, which is season... this is the season that launched with Lightfall. I'm blanking on the name. Defiance. Spoiler alert. Amanda dies. I think Defiance is among the better seasons that launched with an expansion seasons. I like the activity. I like Defiant Battlegrounds. I am a Battleground enjoyer. I mean, Strand came out, but that was more with the expansion, not necessarily the season. So I do think it was among the better launch, the launch seasons. However, where have we placed other launch seasons? So we have a launch season here. We have a launch season here. We have a launch season here. If I am to put Defiance into the B tier, I think Risen would have to come down. Because objectively, I think Season 20 is better than Season 16. So that means this would have to come down and we'd have to go like at least like somewhere here or something. I think I would feel more comfortable clicking this down if I am going to do that. But I do think Season 20 is the best launch season out of all of the launch seasons. That's all I'll say. So if I am going to keep this here, it has to go more towards the back, and then this one has to creep up. Maybe I thought it was better is not the correct phrase, but I enjoyed it more. That's what I feel like I should be saying, is that I enjoyed the season more than other launch seasons. Worst BG out of the bunch, I'm just a Battleground enjoyer, okay? I know a lot of people out there are not Battleground enjoyers. I am a Battleground enjoyer. You guys said. C, followed by B, followed by D, all, I'd say, relatively close. I think that maybe the B and the D cancel out. People who hate Battlegrounds also like cheesy encounters. I will not elaborate. I click down Risen to C, and then I keep this at like a pretty low B kind of deal. I enjoyed Season 20 more than Season 16, definitely more than 12, and definitely more than 8. I think we can at least agree that 20 and 16 are better than 6 and 12. Or sorry, 8 and 12. Can we at least agree on that together as a society? Season 21, Season of the Deep. My hot take about this season was that this season was better than I think people were giving it credit for. I think the activity was a nice addition to the game in Deep Dive. I think it was a pretty good season. Fishing is overrated, my unpopular opinion. But fishing, you barely had to engage with it. If you didn't want to touch fishing, you don't even have to touch it. And I'm seeing someone saying fishing was amazing. Fishing is the best. Fishing is literally the worst. Like you didn't have to. I think at the time it wasn't getting the respect that I think it should be getting. I know we also had a lot of server issues during that time. There was like a 2 to 3 week period where like the server issues were absolutely brutal. I'm not putting that exactly on the season though. I don't think it's the season's fault that we had issues with the servers. But I do think it is much better than a lot of people give it credit for. You know, maybe I'm not pushing it into the A tier or anything, but I'm definitely going relatively high or mid to high B. We had Ghost of the Deep. I really enjoyed Ghost of the Deep. One of the best dungeons, I thought, at least first time through. First time through, I had a very good time. It was compared to Spire the Watcher. Wasn't the crafting having during this? Was it Season 21 or 22? The weapons did suck. I will say it is super unfortunate that they used the Taken weapon skin on Season 21 weapons because they do be kind of ass. Season 21 weapons were probably the most forgettable weapons. I think the only thing that was worth keeping was like Rapacious Appetite, and even then that's outclassed. You guys said A tier mixed with B tier. I'm going either A- or B+. More A's than I was expecting. I'm glad to see this getting a little more respect. I don't know if you guys are just Datto pilled though. Like you just watched my video and you're like, actually, he's kind of right. He's kind of cooking. But I do think that this season deserved a bit more respect than it was getting at the time. Season 22, Season of the Witch. If we are to rate this highly, I think it's because Eris just giga carried so hard. And it was fun to see Eris interact in the game. We did have the crafting. I'll give it a few points. It wasn't supposed to be part of the season, but it did end up being part of the season. The story stuff was super cool. Like, Eris just balled out of control. Super fun to watch that character do her thing. Seasonal activity was okay. You know, was it the craziest thing in the world? I don't think so, but I'd still think it was more good than bad. I like that you could just kind of repeat it over and over. Pick your difficulty. That's nice. We had Embaru Engine. Embaru Engine was super, super neat if you tried to do that without looking at any hints. Nice little puzzle. Weapons were okay. We got Aramite, arguably a top five weapon of the year in terms of craftables. I really like Savathûn Spire. I thought Savathûn Spire was very enjoyable. Good enemy density. I probably engaged with Savathûn Spire more than I did Altars of Summoning. I think I got to go pretty high with Witch. I think it's got to go up there. Now, I am trying to I am trying to also keep in mind that once I was done with these things, did I check out? Yeah, I checked out. There's only so much you can keep yourself entertained with Destiny seasons. But in terms of what we got, I think it needs to absolutely go up somewhere in this A tier. Cards were a cool concept. Yeah, I never ended up using them. This is when Bungie started to really start to, play around with some different things here. Yeah, I think it's got to go up. I think it's got to be somewhat high. Yeah, we got Crota's End as well. True. Crota ended up being much more difficult than I think a lot of people were anticipating. I think it was a very strong showing. I think this year, even though it's probably the least that people have played Destiny, has been, in terms of Destiny seasons, probably the best seasons that we've gotten, or at least like the quality of all seasons combined is probably among the highest. Unfortunately, people are just kind of tired. So that's another reason why I feel like some of these, season 21, 22, 23, maybe not getting the respect that they deserve. That's not really the fault of the players. Some people are just tired. Overwhelmingly A, 59%. Yeah, I thought it was a strong season. Strong season overall. Eris carried super hard. Final season of the Wish. I think the Coil is among the best activities we've gotten. Super rewarding, decent enemy density. I enjoy running the Coil. I have enjoyed the story stuff, but I am a self-proclaimed, I'm very easily entertained. It doesn't take a lot to entertain me story-wise. I enjoyed a lot of the interactions with Riven and Mara and all that kind of stuff. Good weapons. Some of the greatest weapons we've gotten during the year. Warlord's Ruin, mostly an enjoyable experience. I think it was fun to interact with Riven overall. I think it's a pretty strong season overall as well. It maybe didn't have the same star power as last season of the Witch with Eris. Even though we have Riven and Mara, I feel like Eris just popped off so hard that people just kind of embrace that more. Warlords is mostly good. Yeah, it's mostly good. I'd say it's mostly good. Do I count the Wishes as part of the season? Even if I did, they would have literally no effect on how I feel about the season. Now, I realize there's technically another 3 months. This is another extended season. There is some room for flexibility in case something, does happen within the next 3 months that would cause this to move in any sort of direction. But I'm really enjoying the Coil. That's going to boost it up for me quite a lot. Does it click into A tier? Do we go a low A? Did I enjoy it as much as season 19? I personally, I think the Coil I think it's giving enough for me personally how much I enjoyed it that I think it could click into A to a low A. Let's see what you guys said. You guys are saying currently we got majority A, but a few Bs. I think enough to click it to an A minus. Coil makes it S tier for me personally. I know we did have a lot of negative sentiment. There things do be pretty down within Bungie. It's very interesting how season 2 and season 10 people globally consider low points in addition to the season. We rated season 2 and season 10 low, and community sentiment was part of it. I would argue that community sentiment throughout the end of 2023 was potentially at the lowest it's ever been, and yet people are still putting Wish. More than half of you voted A. So what does that say? Either the season or community sentiment. It's we're down bad, bro. We're down bad, but somehow we're able to detach the feeling of that from the season. And I think that's because maybe we're feeling down bad about Bungie itself and the future and not necessarily this season, because the layoffs didn't affect this season, where I think people are more concerned about final shape and beyond the final shape. When the layoffs were announced, this season was already 2 more minutes in the oven and it's ready to go. I do think that this year has been some of the best seasonal stuff that we've ever gotten, especially like 21, 22, 23, all in a row. No duds, maybe season 20 if you want to call it a dud, but 21, 22, 23, all really good, but they're just coming at the time where people are the most fatigued that they've ever been on the game. So it's like, it's kind of like what I said for season 22. If something's good, but people aren't around to play it, is it good still? And true, we're also considering the quality of the seasons compared to other Destiny seasons and maybe not to the greater gaming landscape. Because I say that quite a lot in every single review that I do. It's like, compared to Destiny seasons, they're good. But now more than ever, things have got to change. Previous seasons that were delayed, I would want to know like how far in advance we knew that those seasons were going to be delayed. Did we have the same amount of buffer? Like we think of season 15 and season 19 of like they were going to be these super long seasons. It felt like we knew that going into that. And it also, like, we knew that season 23 was going to be a long one going into it, but for some reason it doesn't feel the same. But I just don't remember the time frames of like, when did we know things were going to be delayed versus we knew Lost would be 6 months before it came out. Yeah, and this we knew a month before it was going to come out. They did say that this season will be the first season with changes and it's good, but it's not really different than any other season. It's the same old. I kind of agree with you. I don't think there were enough shifts in the seasonal model to really say that like it felt like Bungie did a lot, because season 22 23 was supposed to be the time where Bungie was like, okay, we're gonna make some we gotta do something big for these seasons because people are getting tired. And they definitely did some things, but I don't think it was enough, and people just see like, oh, it's still the same cadence, it's still the same model, so it still kind of feels the same even if there were improvements to it. Wish the Witness got more spotlight this season. It's I feel like it's tough to give him spotlight when he's in a place that we can't access. So we would just have to see, like, we'd have to see like cutscenes of him just being like, I'm building my fort. So, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Bye. All right, I lied. Okay, the remaining things, I'm just gonna put them at the front. Destiny 1 launch. The campaign was ass. The gunplay and Vault of Glass were good. That's really all it had going for it at the time. The most I could give it would be like a B, but launch, like it was, and this is D1. This is not D2 launch, because D2 launch we have somewhere in the middle here. The most 6 out of 10 game ever. Yeah, it was a tough start. It was a very tough start. Then we had Dark Below, which I also didn't really think was anything that special. I really did not think it was that great. You know, we got Crota, and Crota was good at the time. I basically super close to launch. House of Wolves, we got Trials. House of Wolves, we did not get a raid. I would be willing to go like low B for House of Wolves. I feel like we're clicking up. So I could either do like a high C or a low B. Prison of Elders. I wasn't crazy about Prison of Elders. I really wasn't crazy about it. I feel like there was potential there, and I don't feel like they hit it. The story was a bit more. It had at least some semblance of a thing going on. I'm willing to go B. Taken King. Literally, there's nowhere else to put it. It is so overwhelmingly up there. It's not even funny. It's literally self-explanatory. I don't even need to explain it. Rise of Iron. I don't know if I'm going A. I'm willing to give you high B. Am I going A? Personally, I don't think so. I'm going high B. Solid. For me, not over the top. And sorry, I know I'm not doing chat things, but I do want to eventually move on. Is this April update? I mean, April update was, I think it was very healthy for the game. Is it on par with Forsaken, Taken King? I don't think so. This is Age of Triumph. I'm trying to remember the difference between Age of Triumph and the April update. It's a free update will provide the Age of Triumph record book to jeopardy achievements in years. Is this the April update? Oh, April update was Taken King. Age of Triumph. Okay, I had them flipped. Age of Triumph. I thought Age of Triumph was the April update. It's Age of Triumph. Still very, very healthy for the game. I think it's going up. Ignore where I'm just putting them close to the side so we can see them better. Shadowkeep. Absolutely nah. I'm willing to go disregard order for now. The C is the best I could give it. Absolute best I can give. That's the most. Take it or leave it. The best I could give. Shadowkeep, expansion, not strong. Not strong. Beyond Light is it like I kind of also want to put it C. Maybe I'd give you a B for Beyond Light. We did get Stasis, although Stasis kind of wrecked PvP for almost a year. B minus is like the most generous I feel like I could be with Beyond Light. The expansion itself was, or like the campaign, I don't remember it being really remarkable. B minus minus C plus at best, somewhere in between here. Witch Queen. Am I going S tier with Witch Queen? I think the campaign, spectacular. The rest of the expansion, I don't know if I'm going as high. Vow was good, but like King's Fall with this was also good. And Last Wish with Forsaken, also very good. I think I can give you really high A tier. I think Forsaken and Taken King just had too many extras. This having like the Dreaming City, and then this having like all the Dreadnought secrets and extra endgame bits in there. I think Witch Queen was maybe more impactful for like current Destiny players, whereas these were like things that got the general public interested. I just think they had more impact. And then Lightfall, purely on the basis of its campaign, gameplay wise, I'm gonna give it some points because gameplay wise, I think it was pretty close with Witch Queen. The story stuff could have used some work. I don't think it's worse than Shadowkeep or Beyond Light. I objectively had a better time playing the Lightfall experience and campaign than I did Beyond Light and Shadowkeep. Like, I'm sorry, if you enjoyed Shadowkeep more, I want to know what you're cooking. I can't put it together with Beyond Light or Shadow. Both of these campaigns were just so mediocre. And at least gameplay wise, I was having fun with Lightfall, you know? Do what we know of Final Shape / the reveal. All right, hypothetical. Let's just pretend that this is the final shape. Am I anticipating it to be better than Lightfall? Absolutely, I am. Am I anticipating it to be better than Witch Queen? I'm thinking it's going to be close to Witch Queen in quality. I would love for it to be up here. It's probably not going to be up here, right? It's probably not going to be up here. It's going to be somewhere in between here and here. I would love for it to like be, here's where I want it to be. I want it to at least be close. I mean, I would love it for it to be up here. But realistically, you know, I think I'm anticipating like a here placement. You know, I think they have probably learned some things from Lightfall. I think they're going to take some things that they've learned from Witch Queen. And I think the campaign experience is going to be pretty damn solid. And as long as they don't do like super goofy ass Cade, which I don't feel like they will, I think it has good potential in terms of a campaign experience. I'm feeling like a right here. You know, they gotta end it. Like, it's over here. Like, it ends here. They gotta bring all the heat they can possibly bring. I would be happy with this, but I think this is way too optimistic. I hope for this. I anticipate this. Something like this would be devastating. This would be also pretty devastating. It's got to be better than Lightfall, bro. It's got to be. Why is up here too optimistic? Recency bias. I anticipate A, but higher than which. So your toes is feeling like a here. I would love for it to be a here. I'm feeling it's going to be over here or here, like whichever side of Saint it's on. People in the community are going to hate it either way because they're brainwashed to hate Bungie. I mean, if you're that brainwashed to hate Bungie, I don't even feel like you're buying the thing in the first place. I think Bungie knows that it's got to stand with some of the big boys. It's got to stand up there. All right, now let's cut. Thanks for watching.